Hi, everybody. I decided to try and help you with the homework a little bit to get into the swing of things. My name's Jill. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. And one of the things that we did in the homework was to read the introduction and the foreword to the 12 steps and the 12 traditions. Now, why is this important to listen to this, even if you don't read it? Because this was written by Bill after 18 years of the big book being around. So there's a lot of information that's super important here as kind of an update. And it also codifies and explains the traditions. So I'm going to start reading from the page, the introduction. Alcoholics Anonymous first published 12 Steps and 12 Traditions in 1953. Bill W., who along with Dr. Bob founded Alcoholics Anonymous in 1935. They wrote the book to share 18 years of collective experience within the fellowship on how AA members recover and how our society functions. In recent years, some members and friends of AA have asked if it would be wise to update the language, idioms, and historical references in this book to present a more contemporary image for the fellowship. However, because the book has helped so many alcoholics over the years find recovery, there exists a very strong statement within the fellowship against any change to it. In fact, the 2002 General Service Conference discussed this issue, and it was unanimously recommended that, quote, the text in the book, 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, written by Bill W., remain as is, recognizing the fellowship's feelings that Bill's writing be retained as originally published, end quote. We hope that the collective spiritual experience of the AA pioneers captured in these pages of this book continues to help alcoholics and friends of AA understand the principles of our program. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the forward. Now there's really some meat in here. Okay, Alcoholics Anonymous is a worldwide fellowship of more than 100,000 alcoholic men and women. Today, it's in 2024, it was 2.5 million men and women who are banded together to solve their common problems and to help fellow sufferers in recovery from that age-old, baffling malady or sickness, alcoholism. This book, with the 12 steps and the 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous, it presents an explicit view of the principles by which AA members recover and how the society itself functions. AA's 12 steps are actually a group of principles that are spiritual in their nature, which, if practiced as a way of life, can expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to become happily and usefully whole. So that's really a good definition of the 12 steps. I'm going to read it again. It's a group of principles that are spiritual in nature, which, if practiced as a way of life, that doesn't mean just now and then when convenient, can actually expel or get rid of the obsession to drink and it'll allow the sufferer to become happily and usefully whole. That's a big promise, and it's come true for me. AA's 12 traditions apply to the life of the fellowship itself. They outline the means by which AA maintains its unity and relates itself to the world about it, the way it lives and grows. That's a good definition of the traditions. Though the essays which follow were written mainly for members, It is thought by many of AA's friends that these pieces might arouse interest and find application outside AA itself. Many people, non-alcoholics, report that as a result of the practices of AA's 12 steps, they have been able to meet their other difficulties in life. They think that the 12 steps can mean more than sobriety for problem drinkers. So this is where we get to the meat of it. It's more than just putting the drink down. It's about having a whole new way of life. They see in them a way to happy and effective living for many who are alcoholic or not. So in the contents of what we're doing and learning here, we get a design for living. There is, too, a rising interest in the 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. Students of human relations are beginning to wonder how and why AA functions as a society. Why is it, they ask, that in AA no member can be set in personal authority over another, that nothing like a central government can anywhere be seen? How can a set of traditional principles, having no legal force at all, hold the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous in unity and effectiveness? The second section of this volume, which is on the traditions, though designed for AA's membership, will give such inquirers an inside view of AA never before possible. So it sets out in the 12 traditions how we function, and it is a very good code to follow for any business or any organization or life itself, relationships. Alcoholics Anonymous began in 1935 in Akron, Ohio, as the outcome of a meeting between a well-known surgeon and a New York broker. Both were severe cases of alcoholism and were destined to become the co-founders of the AA Fellowship. The basic principles of AA, as they are known today, were borrowed mainly from the fields of religion and medicine, though some ideas upon which success finally depended were the result of noting the behavior and needs of the fellowship itself. So it's a living, breathing, spiritual way of life. It evolves. After 3 years of trial and error in selecting the most workable tenets upon which the society could be based, and after a large amount of failure in getting alcoholics to recover, 3 successful groups emerged. So it didn't happen overnight. There was lots of trial and error in the beginning. The first at Akron, Ohio, the first successful group, the second at New York, and the third at Cleveland. Even then, it was hard to find 2 score, which is 24, of sure recoveries in all 3 groups. So very small groups, 6, 7 people each. Nevertheless, the Infant Society determined to set down its experience in a book, which finally reached the public in April 1939. That's when the first published edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, the other book that we're using, and the precursor to this one. At this time, the recoveries numbered about 100, because it says at the beginning of the first edition, we of Alcoholics Anonymous, number 100, right? This book was called Alcoholics Anonymous, and from its fellowship took its name. In it, alcoholism was described from the alcoholics' point of view, from our point of view. The spiritual ideas of the society were codified for the first time in the 12 steps, and the applications of these steps to the alcoholic's dilemma, the application of the steps to the alcoholic's problem, was finally laid down and made clear. Steps were written down. The remainder of the book was devoted to 30 stories or case histories. So after you read the first 164 pages of the book Alcoholics Anonymous, then there's a bunch of stories, starting with the pioneers' stories, the ones who first founded this book, and then other stories from other people, and those have changed in different editions. It says that these stories in which the alcoholics describe their drinking experiences and their recoveries. This established an identification. how we relate to the stories with alcoholic readers, and proved to them that the virtually impossible had now become possible. It's really worth reading the stories. If you can't sleep or something, read a story. You will be surprised how there will be something you'll identify with in every story. And if not, read the next story. The book Alcoholics Anonymous became the basic text of the fellowship, and it still is. This present volume proposes to broaden and deepen. So that's the purpose of what we're reading now in this book, why we're studying the 12 by 12 in addition to the big book. I know it sounds like a lot of reading, but the purpose is it's going to take what we learn in the big book, and if it's not your first time through the steps, here's a chance. Dig in, broaden and deepen the understanding of the 12 steps as first written in the earlier work. With the publication of the book Alcoholics Anonymous in 1939, the pioneering period ended, and a prodigious chain reaction set in as the recovered alcoholics carried their message to still others. In the next years, alcoholics flocked to AA by tens of thousands, largely as the result of excellent and continuous publicity freely given by magazines and newspapers throughout the world. And the big book talks about that in its prefaces. Clergymen and doctors alike rallied to the new movement, giving it unstinted support and endorsement. Why? People were getting well from the seemingly fatal disease of alcoholism. This startling expansion brought with it very severe growing pains within the society itself. Proof that alcoholics could recover had been made, but it was by no means sure that such great numbers of yet erratic, unorganized people could live and work together with harmony and good effect. So that's why we needed the traditions to be written. Everywhere there arose threatening questions of membership, money, personal relations, public relations, management of groups, clubs, and scores of other perspectives. It was out of this vast welter of explosive experience that AA's 12 traditions took form and were first published in 1946, and later confirmed in AA's first international convention held at Cleveland in 1950. The tradition section of this volume portrays in some detail the experience which finally produced the 12 traditions, and so gave AA its present form, substance, and unity. As AA now enters maturity, it has begun to reach into 40 foreign lands in the view of its friends. This is but the beginning of its unique and valuable service. It is hoped that this value will afford all who read it close-up view of the principles and forces which have made Alcoholics Anonymous what it is. So know that in 2021, we're in 180 of 190 countries. And that's the end of this reading. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed a bit of history.